So I watched a film the other day, yesterday.
Oh yeah.
I watched Hard to Be a God by Aleksei Germans. Have you heard of this new film, Hard to Be a God?
No.
Legendary film on the art house circuit now. Basically, so it's an adaptation of a book by the same people who wrote the book Stalker, that was adapted into a film by Andrei Tarkovsky. And this film is legendary for many reasons, right? The guy who's done it is pretty much unknown outside of Russia, but he's like a legend. He's made 5 films over about 40 years. Well, he did do, he's passed away now. But all of them are seen as classics, and this is his dream project. It came out in 2014.
Oh my god.
It started shooting in 2000.
Oh my god.
It took 6 years to film.
Oh my god.
And 7 years in post-production.
It sounds amazing.
Editing and sound. It's 3 hours long. It's in black and white. The story's oblique. So I'll get to the plot, I suppose, first. Brilliant premise. It's a sci-fi film. There's a group of scientists who've been sent from Earth to an alien planet. The alien planet is exactly like Earth in the Middle Ages, but they aren't allowed to give any kind of help or advice to anyone. They're not allowed to. They can subtly manipulate stuff, but they can't like kill people and stuff like that.
Like the Prime Directive in Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I've never seen Star Trek. Get out of here. I bet you wear a crystal on your face or something. I don't know.
Crystal?
I don't know. I've never seen it.
That's Stargate.
Stargate. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, they've gone to this Middle Ages planet. When they arrive, there's an uprising. A new Prime Minister comes in and he burns the universities and kills anyone who can read or is an artist or like any, you know, like that the intellectuals are all killed, and then the little people who all become sort of. It's essentially basically like if you go back into Middle Ages. This is the most disgustingly gruesome film ever made. The reason it took so long was because of the dirt and the mud and the filth. Like literally, you've never seen a film with more mud and horror in it.
Can I borrow this from you?
Yes, you can. I would recommend watching that as soon as possible. It's very, very hard. Anyone who's watching this is like, oh, should I watch the film? I would recommend watching it, but with caveats. It's very, very dense. The story is oblique. I only understood the story after watching the sort of like, there's an amazing analysis on the Arrow DVD actually, of this guy who's, he's called Daniel Bird. Never heard, he's like a film historian, and he goes in, it's like half an hour long, he goes into Germans' previous films, sort of the atmosphere around the film, all that kind of stuff about it, but he describes the story, but without that like, oh, it went over me, and you get it through watching it, but it's very obliquely told. Like, I got the fact that they were scientists who were sent to another planet, and the planet was like Earth now. But they've got these, like, crystals in their head the whole time, right? They're the scientists. And I was like, I didn't get what that was. But there's a bit early on where it does, like, a camera lens. Like, and I thought that was just a cool stylistic device. It looks around and it's like a... You know, like, if you look through a camera, it's got the circle and then the stuff around it. Yeah. Like old-style cameras.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just, but it turns out that that's meant to suggest to the audience that the crystals they've got on the head are transmitting like a stream back to Earth, and all that kind of stuff. It's all visual storytelling, and as I say, it's in black and white. It's subtitled. If you hate that kind of stuff, you're going to be in trouble. And as I say, it's 3 hours long with barely any kind of like discernible plot. I imagine I'd love to see what someone who like if it was in a double bill with Transformers or something. Mom, what's happening? But yeah, this film is also incredibly gory and horrific. There's a horrifying bit where, because they've been plunged back, this like religion called the Order come in, and they start it's basically like sort of Middle Ages sort of version of Christianity.
Like Templars.
Templars, yeah. But they have this device which is like. It's to punish women, and it's like you strap them like that, and then like the legs are spread eagle. It shoots like a horrible arrow up them, and then there's like then it cuts to a shot where a woman's like she's laid on the floor and blood's pouring out of her like out of her crotch. Oh, it's horrific. There's also several bits where people have been killed, and then like a guy will cut open their chest and their intestines fall out, and there's like a bit with a beating heart. Oh my god, it's just insane. Oh no, the worst bit, actually, in terms, because this is a horrible goose. Every single frame is full of mud. Apparently that's why it took so long. He was a perfectionist and wanted all the mud and filth and dirt on the screen. Every character looks like Calamity Jane from Deadwood, but worse. But yeah, the reason I think it's in black and white is because this film would be unwatchable in colour.
Yeah.
It's full of, just shit and blood and pus and stuff. Characters are constantly spitting on each other. But what happens is, because he's God and he's smarter than everyone else, because he's like us now and they're Middle Ages people think he's a god, and like the other scientists are gods, so they keep asking him to spit on him, to cure them from illnesses and to make them so they'll never get ill. It's an insane film. It's basically being plunged into like another world. The film is so fully realised. It's one of the great, like when this came out, it was compared to like Apocalypse Now in 2001 because of its scale and depth, and like it is a completely new type of film. It's completely insane. The sound mix is insanely great as well because there's a lot of like muffled dialogue and stuff, and it's like a lot of overdubs clearly and Foley noise to make it like a proper it's very immersive kind of film. Like I watched it and I just it could have been 10 minutes, it could have been 10 hours. You just get lost in the film after a while. A lot of long takes as well. Like a lot of the scenes just are like are like 5-minute long takes. Brilliantly shot and made and edited. So this is apparently quite a common technique in Russia that I didn't know that a lot of them did. The dialogue was done, as I said, over these 6 years, but then the reason it took so long afterwards was because he dubbed over different dialogue.
Oh, right, yeah.
A bit like, do you know, you've seen obviously the Spaghetti trilogy, how that is English dubbed over Spanish,
yeah,
so
yeah.
It has this really weird disconcerting effect where the characters' mouths don't match up to the dialogue.
Yeah, yeah.
And then everyone goes, ha 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 ha,
yeah.
at the end to mix the fact. But it's a bit like that, it has this weird sort of dreamlike element because the dialogue clearly doesn't match what people are saying. It gives it a really off-kilter, dreamlike thing. Like, I think you could also interpret it that they haven't gone to a different planet, that it's been plunged back into the Middle Ages and the characters are just have just gone insane. Like, you never see a spaceship or anything.
No.
The film begins with the scientists there, and semi-spoiler, at the end, they're still there. So, you know, it could be that they're all insane, it could be all this kind of stuff. You're watching this film not really for plot anyway, it's more for atmosphere and theme and texture and everything. Like, the film is clearly meant to be a technique of anti-intellectualism. Like, if you think Russia, who have they got now? It's Grandmaster Putin,
yeah.
if he's watching. We don't want to get the death squad on.
Comrade
Putin.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, anti-intellectualism, artists being punished. It's all these resonant things. Like, I think another key to why the film might be set on a post-apocalyptic kind of Earth. At the beginning, they talk about burning universities down, and like you don't see any of this. The film mainly takes place after a giant cataclysmic event. So like it talks about, there's a bit of voiceover to even talking about burning of universities and the killing of intellectuals. The first image that you actually see, well, it starts with like a long shot of a sort of guard walking up to a prisoner, and the prisoner takes a shit.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a really grotesque film. It's quite hard to take in one viewing. I'm glad I didn't watch this at the cinema because I did have to pause. I paused it like on the hour just to take a little bit of a rest. It's man. There's a bit later on where there's a dead body, right, just laid on the floor in the mud. I feel bad for the actors. There's a bit where clearly an actor is in real mud, naked, and his head is up, but it's buried in the thing because he's dead. But yeah, I feel horrible for the actors. But there's a bit where this guy is dead and he's laid on the floor, and then this like child soldier, another Russia I suppose allegory, he gets a spoon, spoons some shit out the guy's anus, walks over to another like dead body, and then just slicks it in his mouth. Ooh. It is a horrific vision of the future. Or the past, whichever one. It's, you know, because it's obviously Middle Ages. It's a bizarre mix of sci-fi and medieval sort of thing, but it's basically a presentation of a hellish kind of world with no art or no culture. Everyone's just descended into mindless. Everyone follows like the Prime Minister who's just been elected, who basically is just trying to kill, who's trying to get as much power for himself, and
like another.
well, this film is basically what Britain will be like in 2020 with no Conservative government.
Yeah.
Universities will be burnt down. People will be eating shit, having sex with pigs. Oh wait. Yeah, a lot of animals in the film as well. Actually, talking about pigs, like every shot tends to have something like a chicken in the background, or a pig, or a donkey. That's another disgusting image. There's a bit where it shows it has like a donkey penis in frame, like a huge one, just dangling around for like 10 seconds. Yeah,
weird.
It is. You should watch the film. It's unlike anything else that's ever been made. I'd heard about the film quite a while. It got like mass acclaim. It's not like a 90-some% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like pretty much anyone who's serious about art films or world film really should watch the film. It is just a completely new kind of experience. I'm trying to even think of films that are similar. Like it's as oblique as 2001: A Space Odyssey, but in a much more hyper-real way. I know that 2001 is relatively realistic because it's based on science. It's extrapolated from science in the 60s.
Yeah.
Do you think the film's quite dated now? I suppose people have...
Not really.
No.
The only thing that dates it is the fact that Kubrick got the look of the Earth wrong from space.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that dates it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is that kind of... It's one of the great sort of achievements, really. Just the amount of effort that went into it. Can you imagine 6 years of shooting?
And 7 years in post.
In the mud and in the rain and in the shit. I mean, yeah. It's more fun, sort of, than it sounds. It's never boring.
Oh, good.
It is disgusting because you are essentially watching a vision of hell, like where basically everything's in the shit. But just the way that it commits to the vision is just astonishing, really. To go that far into presenting it, like I'm trying to think of any kind of other medieval kind of films. Is Seven Seals?
Seven Seals medieval, and the Virgin Spring.
Yeah, but that's not full of shit, is it? Or like no one looks muddy in it, and it feels like you've stepped. This is the weird thing because it's a sci-fi film and a medieval film. It feels like stepping back in time. Like it's just, oh god, you'll never take for granted having a indoor toilet again. a lot of shots of like fat old men's arses and stuff as well. It's a grotesque film. But it's really worth watching. It's just a stunning achievement. No kind of soundtrack or anything. But
it sounds like an art house John Waters.
House John Waters.
Yeah.
It's not for shock value though, is what's the thing. None of the... Because it's not presented in a shocking way. A lot of the shots are done in, apparently, this is from the documentary on there, it does the same technique as Citizen Kane, where it's using like long lenses on a short. I can't remember how to do it, but everything's in focus. There's nothing that's like out of focus on the edges, giving like this amazing look to the film. But everything's done from far away. It's like a non-judgmental like look. So it's not like a John Waters film where it's trying to shock. It's trying to present this kind of thing, and there are these really deep, resonant themes. Like the book was originally written in the 60s as a comment on the USSR. It wouldn't have been the USSR in the 60s.
Yeah, it would have been.
Oh yeah, and like USSR and that kind of like anti-intellectualism and keeping people down. And now it's just as relevant today because of Putin and that kind of stuff. It's a great film, just on like what the meaning of art and culture is. That's what he's trying to say in the film. That's what stops it from being a complete downbeat, miserable slog. Because even though the film is quite shocking to watch in a way, it's not shocking in the same like, it's just like looking how people might live and how down things can go. There's always the thing there that the plot isn't about that. It's about taking for like a greater appreciation of what we have as in a world with art and free will and culture and all that kind of stuff. It's an easy 10 out of 10. It's a grand, crazy achievement, just for the level of like in the documentary it talks about like he got funding in like 1969 and then it fell through because the government deemed it something like anti you know how every film has to go through the government,
anti-communism.
Yeah, anti-communist. So then it failed. Then they got funding again in the 80s, but then someone else made a film version and it was deemed uncommercial because there was another film of the same subject matter done, which apparently isn't very good. Apparently it whitewashes it completely, like there's no shit or filth or anything. But yeah, anyone who's interested in great visionary works of cinema, this is it. You know, like every decade comes along and there's one film and it's ambitious and it's epic and everyone who cares about film should see it. But yeah, 2001 is like the 60s one. 70s one is like Apocalypse Now. I'd say the 80s one, Once Upon a Time in America.
Yeah.
You'd say that's just as ambitious and epic, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
This is that version of it. This is like the modern day version of that, like a crazy vision just on screen. You'll never see anything like it again. Probably never see anyone give so much commitment to 50 years of his life went into
amazing,
making that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just as good as you'd imagine. Like, it could have even taken longer. Like, what happened was the director died, and his son took over, and then released it the next year. So it might have been even longer and even more abstract if it had chosen to go on. But it's just amazing. What's actually quite funny is I was thinking like, well, what would visionary works for? And I could think of 60s, 70s, and 80s ones, but not a 90s one. What kind of 90s?
Oh, what, 2000s?
What? 2000s? No, not really. They have ambitious films, like, I don't know, There Will Be Blood's pretty, like, similar ambition, but it's not
I'd probably go for 2000. I'd probably go for There Will Be Blood for 2001, so not as crazy, but certainly an epic, grand scale thing.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just There Will Be Blood, I suppose, for the 2000s.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's the 90s got?
The Matrix.
The Matrix. See, poor 90s. But yeah, anyone who cares at all about art house cinema should watch Hard to Be a God. It truly is a brilliant film. As I say, you need a strong stomach. Like, I read a review on RogerEbert.com. Clearly, obviously it wasn't Roger Ebert writing it. But it wasn't, no, Roper doesn't work for that. He doesn't work for the website, though, does it?
He does. He writes stuff for the website.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But please continue.
Yeah, it wasn't Roper. It wasn't. My favourite critic writes on there, Matthew Zola Sykes. Brilliant film critic. But it wasn't him either. But all the comments on there, the film, they gave it a 4 out of 4. Why not a 5-star system, Ebert? What was wrong with 5 stars?
They got white score things at a 4 out of 4.
That just doesn't seem to make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't, no.
No, but yeah, 4 out of 4. I called it a great visionary, one of the greatest films of all time, I think it said. That was a common thread throughout a lot of stuff, because of how ambitious and insane it is. It's getting a lot of that kind of stuff. But all the comments were very split between, it is one of the greatest films of all time, or, well, this was 3 hours in my life I'm not getting back.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff. It's pretty interesting, actually, because on Rotten Tomatoes, you're on, like, 96%, I think. IMDb, it's like a 6.
Okay.
So audience is very split. Critics can't get enough of this kind of film.
And audience is a bit ooh.
Well, yeah, because it is a very difficult film. If you weren't used to world cinema, or it's one of the most difficult films ever made in a way, just because of how it's not an ugly film. It does look absolutely stunning, but the content of it is just disgusting. Like, as I said, that bit where someone shovels shit out of an anus and throws it in a dead body that is horrific to watch, but it's well worth watching. The themes are so resonant and dense, and it's such, just to watch that kind of crazy ambitious thing. It's pretty sad, really, that this generation isn't even, like, in the UK it got 4 cinema releases in London and 3 out of London.
Well, were they? What? Manchester.
It wouldn't have, might have been Sheffield's apparently got a really good art house cinema.
Okay.
Like a really acclaimed one that's supposed to be, and it specialises in world cinema.
Oh.
Apparently, yeah, but I don't know what the 3 were. But
I bet it was Birmingham, Manchester, and Sheffield.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like Apocalypse Now was just as it wasn't even as like hard to make and stuff, really. And at least it was based on something real, like Vietnam. It wasn't a man creating an entirely new world. But yeah, go see it if you care. I wouldn't say this is a weird one, because with 2001 and Apocalypse Now, you need to see that if you care about film, don't you?
Yes.
But this film is too off-putting, I think, for that. If you have to be into art house films, an alternative film, even though it's just as ambitious and crazy, you have to be into. You can't go into it. Like, it will put off the majority of audience, even for Apocalypse Now, because it's just so disgusting. But yeah, Watch the film. It's brilliant.